One, they say this one weekend is the very best weekend of football. And you know what? With these matchups ahead, I think that's the case. After a stellar Super Wild Card weekend, we have an even more stellar divisional round weekend ahead. So, to talk about the big headlines where we had nail biters and blowouts and players showing their worth, players underachieving, and we've seen even players getting slimed. A lot happened over the past, well, a lot happened this past weekend, I should say. And I think a lot more is about to happen this upcoming weekend. So, to review this past Super Wild Card weekend and to preview the divisional weekend, I have the best of the best in the productive NFL crew. First, Brian McKeon is back. What's going on, Brian?
Can't complain, It's a sad Cowboy fan right now. That's really it.
Oh, we will deep dive into that. Don't you worry. Tommy Brown's in the building. What's up, Tommy?
What's up, Matt? What's up, guys? Happy to be back. It was a really good wild card weekend we had.
No doubt. We got a lot to dive into that and take it all in. And then last but not least, Alex Ranelio's here in his first, I think it's his first time without a hat on the show. So how about that?
Yeah, just letting it fly tonight. Nah, I'm feeling the pain that Brian's feeling, but shout out to him for shout out to him for changing the tides and getting a little ink, I see. So
yeah,
congrats.
Yes, congratulations, Brian. You just got a new tattoo. You can follow him at what is your Instagram, Brian?
At Brian McEwen 94.
Okay, we'll leave that a mystery where he got his ink. So,
was that your first?
It's my second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, and hopefully many more to come from there. So, let's now ink in to this stellar weekend we had of football. Where do I start? Who should I patronize first? Who should I upset of our two of our guests who are legit fans of two teams who are in this playoffs and who are no longer there? So let's start with the first game of the Super Wild Card weekend. The Raiders. We had the Cincinnati where the Cincinnati Bengals defeats the Las Vegas Raiders by a score of 26-19. A true nail biter to the end. Probably the most competitive game from the 6 that were played over the weekend. I mean, from stuff like Vegas killing themselves in penalties. Derek Carr was so close to making an epic fourth quarter comeback, and I think could add his legitimacy to the league, but came up short. We obviously know that the officials sadly played a huge part in this game, and most notably when the Bengals scored a touchdown, despite a whistle being blown in the middle of the play. We saw Joe Burrow throw to Tyler Boyd, and they still count that touchdown anyways. So a lot to soak in. So I'll just leave it to Alex. Just tell us how you're feeling after a difficult loss, after quite the roller coaster season your Las Vegas Raiders team had.
Oh man, it was tough. It was tough to start off the weekend that way, but no, I mean, in some respect we deserved it. In some respects we got robbed. Like, I understand the penalties, like just completely cutting ourselves off at the kneecaps. Like, that offensive line all year was having trouble, being in lockstep. Leatherwood was a rookie, and he was trying to get assimilated, so they were shifting him, all along the offensive line, and he really showed his missteps on Saturday. But it's hard for me to talk out of both sides of my mouth. Like, I was always brought up in sports, like, you play beyond the whistle, you play till the end of the play. But I also understand, like, when there's a whistle, the ball is dead, and that definitely cost them part of the game. I mean, they had an entire second half to make up for it, but it definitely was a demoralizing blow. When I look back at the game, I mean, people forget, like, that was Carr's first playoff game in his career in 8 years. So that was pretty impressive from my perspective. 25 of 54, 310 with one touchdown, only one pick. I think there was a couple times when he took undue sacks that he could have just thrown the ball away, but that's kind of been the trend throughout the season. I think the key to the game was Renfro. He didn't really quite get going like I had hoped for my team to do. 8 for 58 was just not enough. and Jacobs with 83 on the ground. They established a nice running game throughout the game to keep them going into the fourth quarter nice and tight with Cincinnati, but it just wasn't enough. I think our corners were really overplayed with Jamar Chase and Uzama, the tight end. I think he had a really nice game, 6 for 64. But no, I mean, Cincinnati, all the credit in the world, they deserved it, and they're moving on for a reason. So,
well, at least he made the playoffs heads up high, and in such a competitive division, you were able to, sneak one in there. Now,
yeah.
I guess, the other thing to talk about with you and your team, especially, is where do we go from here? Now, just today, the Raiders fired Mike Mayock, the GM, who, I thought was good at steering the ship with the dysfunction that was taking place and still keeping the team competitive. And now we have to see what's going on with the head coach. And I have to ask, Alex, where do you think this is going? And is it also the way you want it to go? And like I said, is Rich Bisaccia going to be staying or going?
Right. Well, first, two things. I mean, when you asked me on the topic of whether I think things have been going the right direction or not, unfortunately I felt like Mayock didn't really quite get a fair chance at doing his job, because he was brought in as being a draft analyst from years past on ESPN, and he was kind of meant to be the dual tandem with Gruden, to be kind of the draft analyst, getting better quality out of their picks moving forward with the Khalil Mack trade and the Amari Cooper trade. And a lot of those picks were just hit and miss year after year, and they didn't quite pan out. And I felt that with Gruden having ultimate say, I don't think Mayock was fairly able to do his job. So I think firing him was kind of them saying that we're going to clean house and start fresh. So I kind of see Rich Bisaccia falling, in line with that, very soon. I think, kudos, congrats to him on, keeping this team afloat throughout the remainder of the season with everything they had to deal with. But they need a guy who is buttoned up, who is relatable to players, who is young, who understands the game, and is going to bring a fresh face to that organization that desperately needs it. And he just wasn't buttoned up enough for me. I mean, he did a great job in the interim, but with all the penalties, they need a coach that they can believe in, someone young like a Tim Brown, who is an alumni of the team, or like a Jim Harbaugh or something like that, something that's really going to inspire the guys. So with that said, it just sucks for Mayock, because I personally don't think he ever really got an opportunity to do his job at his full potential from the beginning, because of Gruden having ultimate say even at a draft level. But Bisaccia, it's one of those things too where, send him off with a nice handshake, like, we appreciate you, everything you've done, but we're going to move on to someone younger and smarter and better.
I hear that. And my last question for you, particularly with your team, is Derek Carr. Is he going to be the quarterback next season?
That remains to be seen. I think it's going to come down to price point, what they want to pay, and who's available. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson comes on the market, I think that regardless if they do or not, they're going to give him a short-term deal if that's the case. But if those guys don't pan out and come to the organization, I think they'll probably sign him for a 3-4 year deal. Something that's manageable, something that's middle of the road, below, a franchise max, that they can work with in due time, because he's serviceable. Like, I've always been a Carr guy. I think he's limited, but he definitely steers the ship when it feels like it's going down. And a lot of times it has with that organization. So I don't think there's any reason to dump him per se. I just think it depends on what his price point is.
Hear that. I thought at one point that this league was going to a much more mobile quarterback, but we've seen that they're not as durable, and they are, not as what they expect to be. Not everybody's Mahomes. So that leaves the Derek Carr, still in the pocket, shotgun type of quarterback still in there, gives him a chance. And yeah, plenty of teams would love to take him. I even think as a Giants fan, it's worth the consideration.
He's serviceable. He's definitely a fringe top 15 type of quarterback, especially, in his better years when he has adequate protection. But it just depends on price point for us. And I think that there's a lot to be said for the type of leadership he's brought to the team, when they could have definitely gone, into the shit heap, third or fourth place year after year, that they were able to avoid.
Hear that. Brian and Tommy, how did you guys feel about the game between the Bengals and the Raiders, did you guys notice anything insane? Do you feel it will now be a fluke game because of the bad calls on the refs? Or, what other thoughts do you guys have to add on to this?
What the Raiders?
No,
you go first.
I knew it was going to be a close game coming into it. That was my pick. It was, I think I said within 3. Oh, no, that was my bad. That was the Cowboys 49ers game.
Mhm.
But I knew it was still going to be a close game. And it showed. Carr did kind of put the team on his back towards the end of the game, but it just wasn't enough for him. And it was still a really good game, though. I enjoyed it.
I think the Raiders did exactly what they had to do. Like I remember saying in the previous podcast, they had to keep Joe Mixon under 100 yards. They kept him under 50 yards. To not let Jamar Chase break out. He had 116 yards, which, to be honest with you, that is keeping Jamar Chase on lock because he's a top 5 receiver at this point. He didn't have a touchdown, so you kept him, in the red zone. You didn't let him get those targets that he usually gets. It just comes down to unlucky breaks, and like we know the weaknesses of the Raiders, and it's right now it's the offensive line and the secondary, and on a team like the Bengals, they're, when you lost a cornerback already, I think they lost 1 or 2 cornerbacks this season. Trying to remember. All right, either one or 2.
For the Bengals or the Raiders?
For the Raiders.
Yeah, so we lost 2 corners, but we had guys in and out of the lineup with Faison and Hobbs. Hobbs got a DUI, of course, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So it's hard when you're going against probably the best, 3, the best combined receiving core in the league, I would say, besides like the Rams. It's hard to do. And, it comes down to unlucky break, but, I think there's a lot of promise in Derek Carr. Even though he is limited, I think that what other options you have right now as the Raiders, if you just think of free agency marketing, you're the Raiders, you have that, but you're the 3rd, 4th best team every year in your division, and it's just how it's going to be. So there might be a team, and Aaron Rodgers might not want to go there because it's going to be a little bit harder to get to the playoffs when, you're up there in age, in the NFL. So, keep what you have and continue to build around him the correct way.
All right. Yeah. And I guess the big question that will precede this is, are they going to restart, or are they going to take this chance and build around what you got so far? And yeah, I guess we'll see what happens in a few weeks with that. So the next game, now this is a game that every one of you picked wrong, with the Bills and the Patriots. The Bills defeated the Patriots 47-17. How about that? A true slaughter of the Patriots defense. 5 touchdowns for Josh Allen. I mean, when rushing was a key to victory for the Patriots in that classic Monday night game back in November, that was it. But this time, they had 89 yards on 20 carries as an entire team. Mac Jones did play well in his first game, had 2 touchdowns, but he also had 2 picks. And then again, just the embarrassment of the defense of the Patriots again was the real killer. And I guess some questions to soak in after the Patriots went ham this offseason, pretty much get new tight ends. You go change that secondary a bunch. You get Mac Jones playing the quarterback, and a lot of changes took place, picking up Nelson Aguilar. And it leads to the Patriots losing in the divisional round losing in the wild card round now in their previous 2 playoff appearances, missing it last year. And then the year before, losing to Tennessee in Brady's last game, throws the pick 6 to end his career in New England. I have to say this, guys, I think you can make a case that the Patriot dynasty, you can officially say they're dead. Sure, they have Mac Jones and there could be a good future here, but after winning that 6th Super Bowl 3 years ago or 4 years ago, winning the playoffs twice, and again, lost in the wild card both rounds, with teams like the Buffalo Bills, clearly dominating the best team out of the AFC East. You thought for a second the Dolphins were also a force to be reckoned with there, but they're a mess. And but bottom line, it seems that this could be it. I mean, Bill's getting up there. I think he's 68, 69 years old. Not a lot of coaches coach past 70, except Pete Carroll, and he's on his way out anyways. I mean, why don't we just start with that question? After this truly embarrassing loss, there's a lot to be upset about out in New England. What do you guys think? Is the Patriots dynasty dead after this victory?
I would say it definitely ended. The Bills now, that's their division. I would say they're probably one of the most well-balanced teams in the NFL right now. If you compare offense and defense, the defense is electric, and there's a possibility at every position on offense for a Pro Bowler in their skills position. From what, all the way out for the number one receiver to their slot, their running backs, they're very good. The tight end is good. Josh Allen is Josh Allen. He's playing like a top 3 quarterback. And I think the dynasty's over. I just don't see how they can compete with the Bills right now, because if you really look at the Bills, it's very homegrown right now. Their star power, not as many free agent acquisitions besides Stephon Diggs and Sanders, if you take those two out of it. So you have guys on rookie contracts still on their defense mainly that is playing lights out. And you're going to have this for the next few years, a well put together team that has draft assets and cap space to continue to grow.
And, like I said, hopefully, part of that front office that Joe Schoen joins us as he interviewed for the Giants job at a second interview today for a GM. But anyways, yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head, Brian. The Who once said, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Buffalo Bills are clearly the new boss in this, and the Patriots, after completely reinventing their lineup and roster, they feel this was their chance to show that they were legit, and now it falls back on the backside. Alex, you got something?
First, Tommy, what'd you think? Now I'll go.
Oh no, I think they're definitely not the team that we count them as a Super Bowl contenders every year. Definitely not. I think the dynasty is over. But with that being said, this could very well be the start of a new dynasty with the Bills. Them beating the Patriots could be that new spark in that team, that they could be the next Patriots for the next 20 years. Hope not, but that's something that to watch their team. They're definitely a very young and exciting team to watch for the years to come.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because I'm definitely not seeing the same thing that you guys are seeing for the long-term or short-term future, like with the Patriots and the relationship with the AFC East. I mean, yes, I agree that it's Bills to lose for now, but you guys know this league and these divisions. They turn over every other year. Guys go from 4-1 and 1-4 in their position. And I think that the way they're constructed, as long as McDaniels and Belichick are there for the short term, I don't think that the dynasty is necessarily over. And I think that they still have the right ingredients to beat any team and compete with a lot of teams, which is a solid running game, no mistakes on special teams or defense, a really solid top 10 or at least top 5 or at least top 10 defense. And we got to remember too, like Mac won 10 games, and yeah, he was the most ready out of all the rookies, but he's just getting started. He just got his feet wet. So I'm very optimistic about this team, despite what people think about this team. And I think that it's just one play where Josh Allen gets hurt or Brian Daboll leaves the organization, goes get a head coaching job. I think they're one big move like that away from being either the second or third best team in the league. And with Miami, there's a lot of questions in the air. So especially at quarterback. So I don't know where the perception is that the dynasty is necessarily over, besides Belichick's, health and his age, but I don't quite see it that way.
What could be that big move that Bill will go out to get to save that team once and for all? I mean, you said the running game could be one. This team historically, even throughout the dynasty, never had that true core running back, to arguably a Corey Dillon. So yeah. What could be that other factor after trying to reinvent the roster just a year ago?
I think just getting at least another 1.5 to 2 years of snaps under Mac Jones. I mean, guys usually don't pop till their third year, regardless of what their ceiling is. But I think that he's just going to get more efficient, smarter with the football, less turnovers. I mean, it was really the 2 interceptions that really killed him the other night. And I think that if he can reduce those turnovers, and they've always been kind of running back by a committee, so I don't think necessarily it's a personnel issue. I think it's just about getting smarter with the football, having a little more development under Mac Jones that could take them from 10 wins to 12 wins.
All right. I hear you there. So the next game, you have the Eagles and the Bucs playing in Tampa, which leads to another blowout victory. The Bucs defeated the Eagles 31-15. Now, I think just like their other Pennsylvanian NFL team, just on the NFC side of things, this Eagles team wasn't really looked on to be a big team to make an upset or a run. This team underachieved, definitely the worst out of the division winners. And what did it lead to? In Jalen Hurts' first game, he had a deer in the headlights worth awful play calling from the coaches, just an embarrassing on both sides of the ball. And yeah, you just had Tom Brady being Tom Brady, having key passes to Gronk, and Mike Evans was killing it. And, it was just a classic Tom Brady beating up on a weaker team in his later career. And the Bucs defense was pretty stellar. Even though 15 points was a bit much, I still, for an extremely stellar game, they were on point in this game. Got to Jalen Hurts often. The secondary kept them, afloat. I think this was an obvious choice from the start. But is there any other takeaways that you can see from this? Is this just like maybe this just shows that the Bucs maybe are legit, but again, a much weaker team? Or maybe the Eagles, maybe you think the Eagles have something that I'm not seeing. What do you guys take out of this game?
Brady's definitely still Brady. And the Bucs will be as good as Tom Brady could play and not be under duress and have protection. So it's going to come into play now in the next game if Tristan Wirfs is healthy. Losing that right tackle, it's going to hurt the run game, and also having his main one of his best linemen for protection. On the Eagles standpoint, I just don't understand why you would give a mobile quarterback the ability to throw 43 passes against Tom Brady. The way to beat Tom Brady is to not let him have the ball. When you have playing generational talent, you don't want them to have the ball. So why are you allowing Jalen Hurts to throw 43 times? And he threw 23 of 43. That is terrible. And you only had 17 carries rushing. And it does not make sense to me. They have a guy like Miles Sanders, who is in my eyes, I would say, not stats or what he's done so far, but actual potential and ability, probably a top 15 running back in the league for just potential for breakout plays. And he's not. He got seven carries, 7 carries for 16 yards. Like, I would ask to get released after that. In my eyes, it does not make sense to me. I think they need a new offensive coordinator. I think the Eagles have always had a great defense, and that's what kept them between 31-15 and not 54-0.
Yeah, at
this point. But they just need to redo the offense. If it's building around Hurts, you have to get a more dynamic offensive line that has the ability to do read option and is better at play action type of pass blocking. And you also need to develop another receiver besides Devonta Smith and having Dallas Goedert. You need a true second receiver. So that's going to be the big I would say need in offseason free agency. And I wouldn't be shocked if they went after like a Michael Gallup, even though he tore his ACL on Dallas, because they'll get him for a cheap deal, or someone like that, a number 2 receiver from a stacked team that they just can't afford.
They can take Kenny Galladay even in the division. I would let that happen. But what do you guys have to add on to that?
This is where this game is what I kind of expected. Just another Brady playoff win, and the Eagles losing, which I'm pretty happy. But the Jalen Hurts, I'm still not really sold on Jalen Hurts being the Eagles quarterback long term. he kind of had like a up and down roller coaster season this year, and to bring him to the playoffs was good, but he didn't really look good to me in that game. He did look like a deer in the headlights. So I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts being the Eagles quarterback long term.
Yeah, I got my questions and reservations about Jalen Hurts, but my biggest takeaway, I mean, yeah, I expected a Brady route in the first round as usual with him, but I thought this game was more of an indictment on the offensive coaching staff for the Eagles, because I think that the only shot we had for them to make this a ball game was Philadelphia's running game had to be stellar, had to keep them in the game, had to control the ball, keep Brady on the sideline. And not only did they not do that, they didn't even establish a running game. I mean, no running game to speak of. It was really just embarrassing. And I thought the offensive coordinators were very unimaginative when it came to the passing game. A lot of 3-and-outs were just due to just really simplistic, screen passes and stuff behind the line of scrimmage that really went nowhere. And it kept them, it kept them in, third and long situations the entire first half. And that was why they went scoreless till the fourth quarter. So I think it was more of an indictment on the coaching staff than Jalen Hurts per se, but I still have my questions about him too.
Good stuff right there. Good stuff. Now, this game that we're about to discuss is definitely one I'm really looking forward to speaking about. The most watched game here, it was the Nickelodeon game, and we had Brian, your Cowboys lost 23-17 in quite stellar fashion. I mean, where do we go from here? The 49ers are now 9-2 in their last 11. You had one of the worst coach games in NFL history in general. I mean, the way they use Zeke more, they barely touch Tony Pollard. Like, what the hell's going on? You had Deebo Samuel showing that he's one of the best receivers in the league too. Definitely a weekend for star receivers all across the board. And, Jimmy G, he almost fucked this up, but he wins again. If there's anything about Jimmy G, he knows how to win football games. And like I said, Dak played horrible. Well, CeeDee Lamb only had a reception. And I mean, what the fuck is going through your head right now, Brian? It seems I saw this. This is the 11th straight playoff season in the postseason since your Super Bowl win. If you're Jerry Jones, you're probably freaking out. Will I get to see one more? What is going on? People really want Mike McCarthy out, but I heard the son, Stephen Jones, he said there's a great chance he's probably staying, though. But like I said, the floor is yours, Brian. Let us know how you feel after a very difficult loss, I'm sure, for your Cowboys.
Well, if you remember, I did tell you that this was my biggest fear. And I told you that it was going to probably be a 49ers win in a close game just because of the lack of discipline of the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. And yet again, we have seen this time and time again. The Dallas Cowboys think that they are the greatest team ever, every year. And their arrogance is what kills them every year because they lack discipline. The amount of penalties, I think it was 14 penalties they had.
That's right.
It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. The offsides, and this isn't rookies. This is second, third year players, 4 or 5 year players in Randy Gregory, and they just don't make sense to me. Like, where is the accountability on the coaching staff to go to the players and actually reprimand and teach discipline? Dan Quinn teaches discipline. Randy Gregory got kicked out the next play and got sat on the bench for a drive after that. On offense, they don't usually do that because you can't pull an offensive lineman, because the difference between a first string and a second string offensive lineman is completely different compared to rotational defensive ends on the defensive line. But where is the accountability? When are we going to finally realize that our ego is what's killing this team? Because right now we have technically the best team on paper in the league for the last, I would say, 5 years. Best star players every year.
On both sides of the ball.
on both sides of the ball. It's always been like that, but they can never get it together. I think we're finally seeing that, I was never someone who liked Dak Prescott to be a $40 million man because I saw his limitations. And that is when he's under duress and he's not winning, it's very hard for him to make the correct plays. Also, I don't think he has the ability yet. Maybe it's just going to take a little more time for him to actually audible out of plays and go against sometimes coach's rule, what the coach believes. Because in my eyes, I know for sure if Aaron Rodgers got a QB draw on the last play of the game, he would have looked to Matt LaFleur, flipped him the bird, and then would have went with a fade to Devontae Adams. That's 100% would have happened. Dak Prescott cannot get out of his, own little, all right, we're going to follow this because that's what coach says. And I get it. He's a loyal guy, but there comes a point where you're the player and you're the leader of the team. You have to sometimes say, hey, this is not what I think that we should do. And that comes with experience. Brady controls and talk, always used to talk with McDaniels and audible out, and they would have disagreements on the sideline and stuff like that. Same thing with him and Arians. But guess what? You trust your quarterback and his experience. I think Mike McCarthy needs to go. I don't think he knows how to actually, command a team. I think I was saying this even in Hard Knocks in the summertime that Dak Prescott and a lot of the leaders on the team just didn't look like they respected Mike McCarthy. And I think he's just a proxy for Jerry and Stephen Jones, just a kind of yes man. Same thing with Jason Garrett. I don't think they really have had a legit coach since Parcells.
Yeah, the analytics told us to play it this way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, that's what aggravates me. And I really hope Kellen Moore actually leaves because I really don't think he is that much good of an offensive coordinator. I think it's very easy to, luck out and call good plays when you have, you could call average plays, but when you have that much talent, it's really easy to make an offensive coordinator look great when you have that much talent on your roster on the offensive side. Like the fact that CeeDee Lamb had one catch blows my mind. And then you look at the run game. We know that Ezekiel Elliott has a partially torn PCL, they said, and he is getting 12 carries in the game, which was situational. Why isn't Tony Pollard getting the rock?
Yeah, that was probably the biggest surprise coming out of this. Zeke, you barely used him in the second half of the season, and yet, I don't know, he must have had a good week of practice or something, but can't live another day with it, unfortunately. Brian, I'm sure you guys seen that viral clip of Stephen A's rant on First Take today. And he said one of the funniest things, he said, this was the first time that a Cowboy fan would usually say, we're winning the Super Bowl next year. And I didn't hear that this time. Are you that kind of Cowboy fan after this, Brian?
Nah, I've never been someone that I've always thought negative when the Cowboys went into the playoffs because I've always just had this mindset as long as Jerry Jones is the owner and Stephen Jones is the GM, they're never actually going to progress because there's no ability to have disagreements and actual communication when it's basically a monarchy in there. And you can't do anything. You need a GM that isn't related to the owner. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't make sense to me. Like they're making draft decisions over Sunday dinner. And in my eyes, that's not the correct thing to do. They always go for Sooners. It's how they are because that's the college they like. And I mean, they go for the highlight reel play. Like if Zach Morton didn't fall, we were going to get Johnny Manziel when we had Tony Romo, just because we wanted to sell tickets and he was a Texas boy. That's Jerry Jones. And that is the problem here. The problem is that Jerry Jones thinks that he is the Dallas Cowboys and he could do whatever he wants.
Yep. Yeah.
You pay all this money for an offense, and you haven't realized that Tyron Smith probably is done.
I think that's the only next step. I mean, I agree with every word that came out of your mouth, Brian, and I feel your pain because you seem to be one of like the few Cowboy fans that are realistic, that I can tolerate. Yeah, it's a complete family monarchy, and like until Jerry releases some kind of power to the next coach that can actually come in there and run things, that's not just a puppet for them from the press box. I don't see them moving forward anytime soon. I would like to see Steven maybe take on more of the day-to-day ownership and operation roles, but I don't know how much that's going to happen unless Jerry's health starts to decline precipitously. But yeah, they need fresh blood in there. They need guys that are outside of that Cowboy family, so to speak, because when your family, you can be wrong a lot of times, and that organization masks that a lot. And I think that's a reason that they're out in the first round, year after year. I think they're really essentially they're wasting their playoff window right now by having someone like Mike McCarthy in there, because he's not going anywhere fast, and he's had too many blunders throughout the season, just situational football, poor in-game management, and Kellen Moore calling the plays. It looks like there's a lot of tension on the sideline where they don't know what they're doing. The one thing that stuck out in my mind was when they had that phenomenal fake punt play where the kicker threw it to the sideline, and they just cut the camera crew cuts to the sideline, and everybody's in complete disarray and disorganization, which just goes to show that they're not prepared for even the most brilliance that they can have in game. They're not ready and adapted for it, which is just it's tough to see, because a lot of these players, they're 4th, 5th year guys, they're in their prime, and the team is wasting their talent, as we speak.
Well, at least you guys got one thing correct, and that Dak won the MVP. I mean, how like that? Nickelodeon's a joke. They really thought they'd get a genuine answer.
They go for the personalities. No one said kids were smart.
Tommy, do you have anything to add on with the Cowboys in this? And I figure we would focus on the 49ers more when we talk about their divisional matchup. But anything left on the Cowboys in this game in particular?
No, I think they all said it. I think one thing that Brian said was the word discipline. I think that was one big thing, is that they weren't disciplined enough on Sunday. If you look back at week 1, they went head to head with the Super Bowl defending champs, the Buccaneers, and everyone thought like, oh, maybe it's the Cowboys year. But to me, it was just another disappointing year for a lot of potential for a good team that just sucks for the Cowboys.
I'm so done with it. I want them. Second.
But once again, as a Giants fan, I'm happy to see the Cowboys lose.
I think Brian, I think they need a total rebrand from the bottom up, because I feel the pain for fans that can't really identify with a team's culture. I really feel that.
No, like literally, I'm fully for a rebuild right now. I'm not even kidding. I'm fully for a rebuild and trade Dak Prescott, trade a bunch, keep CeeDee Lamb, trade Tyron Smith and Zach Martin, and just get draft picks and rebuild and go off the defense and try to build a team like Denver. Because at this point, nothing's going to change. And I lost all respect for Dak Prescott after he made the comments about throwing trash at refs. You didn't lose the game because of anything like that. You lost the game because you didn't realize that you can't run fast anymore after your ankle injury, and you thought that you were going to get somewhere in 10 seconds a lot quicker. And I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
And I think the thing that has really hamstrung this organization is they get really tied in and overpay for contracts after one good year. DeMarcus Lawrence, Ezekiel Elliott, year after year, these guys, they have a great year, and the organization falls in love with them and basically puts an arm around them like their family, and they get completely blinded to the fact that these guys play for contracts. You need to, treat them as employees within an organization, and they don't really have that mindset that they should. I think that I'm all for rebuild in the most holistic sense for any Cowboys fan, even if I hate the Cowboys, because that division is so bad that even a 2-3 year rebuild is completely possible, where you could go from 4-1 like that.
Literally, we could literally rebuild the offense right now. We need to rebuild the offensive line. That's the number one draft thing. And we need to just start picking. We need smarter players, not the physically gifted ones. I want a Hunter Renfrow. I don't need an Amari Cooper or a CeeDee Lamb. Right. I want the guy that's going to get me 6-8 catches for 60 yards, give me his all, and no, situational football.
Micah Parsons.
Yeah, literally. Micah Parsons, a well-disciplined athlete and a student of the game, and that's why he's succeeding, not because he's all lavish and talks and, he just, stuns you away with plays. He does, but that's not the main priority.
Yep.
And did have a good first game for a rookie. And then, the funny about Micah Parsons, the first player I saw on Twitter who said, "Hey guys, vote for me for rookie of the year" or something. What was that? Did you see that tweet? He literally said it. Vote for. He's campaigning. Oh man. So A lot of passion from this. I appreciate it. So we also had the Chiefs and the Steelers play 42-21, a blowout as expected. Brian, sadly, I hope you didn't bet the money line on this.
Never.
It was the Chiefs game from the start. The Patrick Mahomes was insane, 30 for 39 with 404 yards and another 5 touchdown game for him. The rushing game was pretty stellar. It looks like McKinnon's now the guy. You don't have to worry about Clyde being out at this point. I think that running game could be trusted with McKinnon. I think he made a stellar point in this game with that. Big Ben did play pretty solid. Definitely not bad. Above average at 29 to 44 and 215 yards with 2 touchdowns, but a lack of running game, especially Najee Harris. I think, kind of showing his strides that he's definitely a boom or bust, and then the bust is really bad. And yeah, what could we say? We knew that the Chiefs are pretty much the Chiefs again. Kelsey played well, Tyreek Hill again, and when they play Buffalo on this weekend, it's going to be really fun to see this all come together. Does anyone have anything to comment with the Chiefs and the Steelers besides peace out, Big Ben? Yeah, so exactly. Nothing much.
Yeah, it was kind of like with the Philly Bucs game. It's kind of pretty much what I expected. I think that a lot of the 3 and outs for Pittsburgh early on really took them out of the game. I thought that the only way they're going to stay in it is if they at least come away with 3 every possession, just to kind of stifle Kansas City's offense. But they had no answer for Kelsey. He had a huge night. 5 for 108 and a touchdown. And they had 5 receivers over 40 plus yards. So they were really spreading it around, kind of getting anything they wanted. I thought their only chance was to kind of get pressure with 4 with TJ Watt, but Mahomes looked comfortable in the pocket. He was getting the ball out all night. And peace to Big Ben. It sucks because all year I think that he really didn't have the O-line to support him. I think losing Villanueva in the offseason was a huge loss. And then having Pouncey retire. The defense just gave up too much and 3 touchdowns before the second half. And I think it was pretty much over before halftime.
Yeah, dude. There's not really much to add besides that. So on with the Chiefs. And the final game, the Monday night game, the one that had the final Manning cast, and the one that was a really bad day to be named Kyler Murray. So at a final score 34-11, the LA Rams take it and secure their spot in the divisional round. Some things to note here that the Rams are really hot now. If everything goes in the right direction for this football team, they're going to win. They're going to destroy you on defense. They're going to score a lot of points. And I mean, how about that? Both sides of the ball, stellar. Von Miller, I think, finally had his real big breakout game for this team and a good time to have it. Odell Beckham Jr. showing some old strides and showing off that arm there. A 40-yard pass in this game. And Matt Stafford, though a relatively easy-going day at only going for 13 or 14, but, with the quarterback rating of 154, anybody will take that. And, also the LA Rams rushing game. You got 3 solid dudes that you can trust running this ball, whether it's Sony Michel or Cam Akers. And if you could fit Henderson in there, he's shown that he could be good with the ball in his hands. I think this can be what peak LA Rams football does. And as I said, awful day for Kyler Murray. People are saying you might as well join the MLB after this one bad game. But hey, it is only one bad game. But when the team only has 18, when the team, really sucks and it's bad, and you also don't have DeAndre Hopkins. He was sorely missed in this game. It was a real mess for them. Christian Kirk was the highest, had the highest reception yards at only 51 and only 6 receptions. So tough pill to swallow for a team that was undefeated on the road coming into this game. So yeah, the Rams, I don't know. I think it was going to be a little closer than it wound up being, but yeah, What a day to be an LA Ram fan. What do you guys take out of this game?
I'll go quick. I didn't get to watch the game, but all I got to say is kudos to Cam Akers, who went off for 17 carries for 55 yards and 1 catch for 40 yards after, I think, 5-6 months after a torn Achilles.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dedication, and I absolutely applaud him for, that work ethic. And, I hope to see him actually thrive and continue in the league, because someone who could put those numbers up after 5-6 months with an injury like that usually could, be almost career ending just for a running back with speed. They have a lot of promise in that backfield, and, it's going to really help Stafford as they continue in the playoffs.
Ooh, all right.
What the Rams did on their win Monday night is what they're going to have to do to win for the remainder of the season. Is what they did is have all their best players ball out. Like you saw, they got the ball to Odell. Cooper Kupp scored. Stafford didn't throw any picks. Vaughn and Aaron Donald. Vaughn had 2 sacks?
He had a sack.
Yeah. A sack. Like that's what they're gonna need to. If they want to stay in and continue to win. That's what they're gonna need to do, is have their best players ball out like how they did.
And to add that, 3 tackles for losses too.
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of echo what you guys said, I mean, Rams look dominant. Stafford had 0 turnovers. That was really the stat line for me for the game. Besides that, he was really just managing. He only had 17 attempts with 202 and 2 touchdowns. Between Sony Michel and Akers, they really controlled the running game. They kept the clock under control, 110 on the ground. And then, Cooper Kupp and OBJ just being a tandem, he was able to kind of hit those guys in stride and keep the defense on their toes the entire night. But I think, having all 5 receivers over 40 plus, kind of the same way Kansas City did, it's going to keep any defense confused. And I feel like that's going to carry over into their matchup against Tampa Bay, knowing that they have holes in the secondary as well. But it's kind of exactly what I expected and predicted from the Cardinals. I mean, Kyler looked terrible. He had two interceptions, 19 of 34. And early on, it looked like the decision-making from Cliff Kingsbury, it looked like the moment was too big for him and Kyler in their first game in the playoffs. It just looked like it was 1 year too early. I knew that they were going to have a breakout year from the beginning of the season in terms of win total, and it definitely came as predicted for me. But I just thought that once they hit the playoffs, it was going to be a little too much on that stage. And it's always difficult when you're playing a team for the 3rd time in one season, because the team so well. So usually the more veteran team, the more veteran coaching staff, like McVay and that organization, they were going to be more prepared for this game.
Solid. And also, how about Eric Weddle coming out of retirement and even seeing the field a couple of times? Just signing the practice squad. And hey, I mean, he didn't record a single stat, but hey, it was still cool to see.
And I think this game would have looked a little different too if Arizona had DeAndre Hopkins. So
yeah, big miss. So, and basically, do we panic on Kyler Murray yet? I mean, I was kind of surprised to see some of the criticism. I mean, there's some people who would say, man, he doesn't have it. Even just after one bad playoff game, like I said, undefeated on the road coming into this game. And it just, you don't win playoff games when everybody has a bad day.
Yeah. No, he didn't have the support from the, the opening kickoff. I think it's way too early to panic on Kyler. I think he definitely outshined expectations at the beginning of the season, and they'll be fine. My bigger concern is just the playmaking, the play calling ability from Cliff Kingsbury. I think he's more on the hot seat than anything.
All right.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, same here. Alex said it perfectly.
All right. Well, yeah, let's see where this lies. So that concludes our Super Wildcard Weekend coverage. Now let's talk about the best weekend in football. Divisional Weekend, 4 matchups, all have crazy, interesting, deep, thoughtful, and thought-provoking storylines to them. So why don't we first start with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans. They're going to play on Saturday at 4:30. Right now, the line is set at the Titans at 3.5-point favorites. Now for a first place team that some people think, yeah, this is the number one team in the NFC. Some people say this team is fluky, but yet even after major injuries throughout, especially on the skill positions, the Titans just kept winning and kept winning and winning and winning. So, and the other thing here, the Titans, there's a lot of speculation that Derrick Henry will make his return to the starting lineup. Again, probably find out if that's officially takes place in the next couple of days, but I think you could win this game without Derrick Henry, but I don't think you can exactly win the AFC Championship if you don't have him in there. But this Cincinnati Bengals team is very hot. I mean, winning their first playoff game in over 30 years. Joe Burrow, each game makes you realize that, yeah, this guy is going to be a 15-year Pro Bowl All-Pro player. And then, as long as you have Mixon on running on the ground, and then Jamar Chase is healthy, I think this is going to be a good game for a difficult challenge in the Tennessee Titans. What do you guys think coming into this game? Who do you think has the edge?
I take the Bengals right now. I just don't see them winning without Derrick Henry just because of the scheme in which I think the Bengals will actually throw on their defensive line standpoint at the Titans. I just don't think their offensive line has done as good as years past, and the Bengals have a ton of ability to create pressure with I think his name is Hendrickson and Hubbard. And they have a lot of guys in that, front four that can really get pressure on the quarterback. So I think if Derrick Henry isn't there to balance it off, it's going to be a lot on Tannehill. I don't know if he's built to do that right now. After a very shaky season where, he had a lot of highest interceptions, and I think 3-4 seasons right now. Low TD to interception ratio. I just don't see it really progressing. And I think the Bengals have hit their stride, and in Burrow we trust.
In Burrow, we trust. Okay. Yeah.
That's my team now with Dallas out.
Cincinnati. What are you thinking, Tommy?
I agree with Brian. The Bengals are getting hot at the right moment for them. And I don't know, Henry or not, I'll still have the Bengals winning. Definitely, obviously, Derrick Henry's been out the whole season, so they're not going to have the same game plan that they usually have with a healthy Derrick Henry. They're probably not going to give him the ball a bunch of times as what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So I have Joe Burrow coming in this one and upsetting the Titans and winning, and the Bengals winning.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take Tennessee in this one. I think that they're well rested. They're healthy. They know what Cincinnati wants to do right out of the gate. They want to go to Jamar Chase. They want to control the running game. I think it's pretty clear cut what their advantages are, what their strengths are, where they want to go with the football. But I think for Tennessee, obviously, of course, the elephant in the room is Derrick Henry. I know today, as of late, he was cleared for contact practice, so he's going to be evaluated throughout the week. So that obviously that's a huge caveat to my pick. But even regardless of that, I think if you look at Tannehill the past few years, whether it was what's his name up in Green Bay. LaFleur, whether it was LaFleur, the offensive coordinator, or Arthur Smith, they always have a game plan and a scheme that fits Tannehill to make him most comfortable and best equipped for the game plan. That way he's not too overwhelmed. And I think that's going to continue for him in this game. I think they're going to get the ball out of his hands quick. It's going to be a lot of screen option stuff, not allowing guys to get pressure and collapse the pocket. So I'm actually going to take the Titans in this one.
All right. Okay. We'll see that nice split down the middle there. Now, the biggest spread coming into this weekend, and a game that I do think is entertaining. And I saw a report that the weather in this particular place could be compared to some of the coldest games in NFL history. We have the 49ers going down on the road again, heading down to Green Bay, Wisconsin to play Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So The 49ers made some big moves defeating Dallas in Dallas. Can they do the same in Green Bay? As we talked about, the Packers have rejuvenated life again. Aaron Rodgers is ready. Bakhtiari's back on the offensive line. As long as you have Devontae Adams out there and you have people like Lazard and say Brown out there, can they compete? Can they score more? Can Jimmy G keep using his winning ways with the rise of Samuel out here? I think Mitchell's an underrated aspect of their offense. Where do we see this going? Who's going to take it out in Green Bay on a Saturday night?
I think if Fred Warner is healthy, I think the 49ers could have the chance to upset the Packers. And I think that's just the trend in the last few years that the 49ers have had the Packers number. If you remember, they beat them to then go on to the Super Bowl and play the Chiefs. I think that the key to the game for the 49ers would be to do it a little bit different, but similar to what they did with Dallas is got to control the ball, got to run the ball because they have Mitchell and Deebo Samuel now being that wide receiver running back number one, right? He's that flex kind of position. Got to try to get 150 yards rushing, and you got to force Jimmy G to not have to put the game in his hands. I want Jimmy G in this game to only throw the ball max 20 times. And I want them to just run the ball. It's going to be cold. It might be windy, and just give as little time as possible to Aaron Rodgers. And I also think Green Bay's been pretty much in stride for the entire season. They really haven't had a big hiccup yet. So I could see them easily having that big hiccup now.
At least with Aaron Rodgers on the field, the only little hiccup was that Chiefs game, but Jordan Love showed that he needs more time. But you're right. Maybe the Packers are due. And, obviously Aaron Rodgers is the most talked about. Some feels like he's the most talked about person in America nowadays. So can he block out all his haters and admirers? And can he bring another win and get back to, this would be, I think, his 6th NFC championship since the Super Bowl down in 2010. So can he finally get back into get another shot at it? Tommy, you got a nice smirk on your face. What are you thinking?
No, I said it last week. I'm gonna say it again. It's the Packers. It's third time's a charm for them being in their third straight NFC championship. So it's their game to lose. They're going into Rodgers' playground in negative whatever degree weather. The 49ers are coming in. Jimmy G's coming in with an injured throwing hands.
Yes.
So the weather being horrible, they're definitely not going to hope to rely on Jimmy G throwing. But if the 49ers are going to win, their only chance is through the run game.
Yeah, kind of same, I'm kind of along the same lines as you guys. I think the only chance for the 49ers is to really establish that running game. Deebo Samuel is going to be the key to the game. If he can have more than 120 all-purpose yards, through the passing game and on the ground, it's going to keep this defense on its toes. But I think it's cookie cutter for the Packers to win, kind of going away, actually. I think the only reason the 49ers Dallas game kept so close to me was well, obviously because of Jimmy G's shortcomings in the second half, but I think for them the only way they're going to stay close in this one with the Packers is if they keep getting at least 3 points out of the drives, to kind of the way they did with against Dallas, just to keep things honest with the Packers. As much time as they can keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline, that's the only way that they're going to keep it close. But I expect Green Bay to win pretty nicely.
All right. Love the energy coming out of here. Now, let's focus on this game. At a 3-point spread with the Rams and the Buccaneers. Rams are going down to Tampa. The spread is that the Bucs are 3-point favorite. Like I said, for two teams that have nothing but momentum on both of their sides, it could be a war of attrition. Can Tom Brady beat the Rams once again. They are a much improved team compared to the NFC Championship team they were 2 years ago. Again, on both sides of the ball. In fact, I think every aspect, they are so much better. Obviously, you take Odell Beckham over Brandon Cooks. Cooper Kupp's the mainstay, and he's only gotten better since then. He was just a regular slot receiver like a Cole Beasley, and now he can be the MVP, arguably. Aaron Donald has more of that scary pass rush on that squad with him. And obviously, Jalen Ramsey wasn't on that Super Bowl team, and now he is on the Rams now. So, but can Tom Brady be Tom Brady in this magic? He has a home field advantage. Everybody's healthy. You might even see Leonard Fournette make a return, and that's pretty huge. And again, who knows where Tom Brady, I think his contract does end after this season. Wouldn't it be poetic if this was it for him? I don't know. I thought it's been interesting. Not a lot of people have, been talking about that, but hey, they're just going to let it ride. This would be a tough team to beat, but I guess, just another reason why Tom Brady would be the GOAT if he made it to another conference championship. What's the number? It has to be like 15 at this point. But this is definitely a legit challenge, I would say. So what do you guys say when it comes to this game? By the way, it is I'll get the record really quick, but tell me about by the way, it's 13 conference championships games. So if he wins it, this would be it would be his 10th victory. So 10 Super Bowls. But anyways, what do we think about Bucs and the Rams?
I think the Rams have a good shot at beating them right now, just because of the fact that the offensive line might be bagged up, and Brady in pressure isn't good. I'm being under duress, especially being even less mobile now as he ages. You have, I would say, three of the best. He's probably like three of the best, top D linemen in the league, in Von Miller, Aaron Donald, and Leonard Floyd. That pass rush right there is going to control the game, because right now the Rams have a better offensive weapons than the Bucs right now, just because of injury. They got the better running backs right now. I think they have Le'Veon Bell and Keyshawn Vaughn, who I didn't even know existed until a couple of weeks ago on fantasy. So it's going to come down to Brady trying to make miracle plays. And when you got a guy like Jalen Ramsey, who's now going to try to lock up, Mike Evans, really all you got now is Gronk, and you have a few other like Scotty Miller, and maybe they'll have to rely more on if Fournette's healthy in the passing game and stuff like that. So I think
they really miss Godwin on a game like this.
Yeah, very, very.
Cameron Brate may have a big game.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna be close. I can even see this as one of those like the Rams Patriots Super Bowl, like a 13-3 kind of game. I could see being really, really close, just because of the defense is having to step up, because it's a big responsibility. They're both playing great offenses. So I have a feeling it's going to be a game of defense, really. And I could see it being like a very low scoring game.
Yeah, I kind of see the same result. Like a really high intense defensive matchup. I think the couple keys to both teams here. I think Stafford needs to play another conservative game, maybe nothing more than 25-30 passes for the game tops, but he's going to have to play a conservative game, really balance it with the run game throughout the entire night. I think if they do line up with each other, I think Ramsey and Evans is a huge matchup potentially throughout the night. And I think for the Bucs on their side of the ball, I think Brady's going to have to approach this game, with a running back by committee mentality, of course, with Rojo and with Lenny being questionable for that game. But I think that the screen game, getting the ball out quick, is going to have to be a big part of this recipe, because I'm not sure how strong they are beyond their front four, at their free safety positions. And I think that depending on where they line up Shaq Barrett, I think Shaq Barrett and Andrew Whitworth is going to be a matchup to see as well, seeing if they can generate pressure on Stafford, collapse the pocket. I expect Brady to be kind of under duress all night, and I think it's going to be somewhere around like a 13-10 kind of game.
Let's get it. What do you say, Tommy?
I don't know. I really don't know yet. I just have a feeling that the Bucs are gonna win by 3. But I don't know how it's just I don't know how they're gonna do it. I just have a feeling that they're gonna win, and yeah.
All right, cool.
We'll see how weather plays a factor too, because it could be a really like warm, wet, rainy night too, depending on what the weather situation is. And with the Rams playing indoor all year long, they may not be adjusted for that. I mean, when they went up to Green Bay in really cold weather last year, they weren't really prepared either. And so we'll see if that has the same effect.
Yeah, here we go. Currently, at the moment, they expect it to be 64 degrees and partly cloudy, but anything can change.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too nice outside.
That's always the problem in Florida.
And now the final game on a Sunday night, a rematch of the AFC Championship from last year. The Buffalo Bills are going back to Kansas City. And yeah, as I said, similarly to the Rams coming back to play Tom Brady after 2 years now, this team is much more improved in the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen can't have any more momentum. Again, above average season, but could have done better. But so far in the playoffs, he's been killing it. Stephon Diggs having a stellar season. And, this Bills defense is one scary defense, especially on the, especially on their rushing defense as well, as pretty stellar right there. But the Kansas City Chiefs, though, as we mentioned, when things click like they did against Pittsburgh, no one could stop them, especially if Patrick Mahomes has room again. The one thing he needs is that protection. Protection is still lock and step. So for two quarterbacks who both had 5 touchdowns the previous week, can they repeat it again? Who do we see winning the rematch of last year's AFC Championship?
I got Bills. I'm really excited for this one. Last year the Bills are coming in pissed because last year they lost to was it last year or the year
last
before?
season.
Yeah, last year they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. And it was funny. I was talking to my friend today, and he sent me the video of it was actually a year ago today when Stephon Diggs ate after the loss and watched the AFC Championship ceremony. I saw that. I was like, oh my God, that's right. Like they lost them last year. Like I have all signs pointing that the Bills are gonna win. Josh Allen's coming off hot, and like I said, the Bills are coming in pissed this game. They're just gonna one of those games where just go to a revenge on the team they lost to.
The Friday Night Lights moment right here.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs, the movie. What do you think, Brian? Who do you think is going to be taking this game?
I think it's going to be the Chiefs. I just think that the Bills, they're close. I just don't think they're ready yet. I don't think their defense, I just don't think their secondary, even though, the top safeties, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, are fantastic. Trey White's, I believe, still out. I think he's out. Yeah, he's done for the season. So I think it's going to be very hard for them when they're a more run stopping defense when you're playing a team that is not really key on the run. So their best ability on defense is not needed in this game because you have an injured Hilaire and you just have McKinnon, who's more of a scat back that's going to be in the screen game. So it's going to be more Matt Milano and the linebackers making plays. This is going to be a passing game where you have, I would say, there are 6 receivers on their team all the way going down to Josh Gordon at like the age of 35 at this point, could all be quality starting receivers on any other team. The tight end is either 1 or 2 in the league every year. And it is Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's going to be close, but I just don't know. It's going to be one of those games where the Bills could just keep on holding on, but there's going to come that breaking point, like a 50-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill over the shoulder in the end zone. That's just going to blow it wide open, and the morale is going to drop. That's what I see.
Yeah,
I
it's
see
going to
a
be how
very
they
close
reduce the
game.
big plays. I mean, yep. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think that there's a potential that the Bills can keep it close if they can control the running game, and keep Spagnuolo's defense constantly on the field and kind of wear them down throughout the game. I got the Chiefs winning a tight game too. I think that the Bills are just a little too Josh Allen centric. I think that he's going to have like an MVP performance type of game to will this team, to the AFC Championship game. But I think that the biggest weakness in their defense is that second level with Poyer and Micah Hyde. I think Kelsey's going to tear him apart. I think he's probably going to have a big game, like 10, 11 catches for $120, $130, maybe a touchdown or two. That's kind of how I see this thing playing out. And the biggest advantage for Buffalo in the past has been the weather and the location, and that gets reduced when you go to Kansas City on the road, and that stadium is so loud. So we'll see how they handle how they handle the crowd and whatnot. But I got the Chiefs in a tight one.
All right. What can I say? This is going to be an amazing weekend of football. Thank you for breaking it down with me again, gentlemen. We have the great Brian McKeon, Tommy Brown, Alex Ranelio. We're going to do this once again next week. We'll meet up on Monday, and that means we're going to be releasing it to you, the greatest fans and listeners in the world, on Tuesday. So we'll be back on Tuesday to break down these 4 matchups and then preview the other amazing weekend of football ahead in Conference Championship Sunday. So again, Brian, Tommy, and Alex, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next week. You enjoy the football and stay safe this weekend, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Enjoy the games, guys.
Peace.